Morning, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of Cabinet on the 21st of December 2023. I'll take apologies for absence first, please.
No apologies received, Leader.
Okay, thank you. We'll move then to disclosures of personal or prejudicial interest. Are there any for any items on the agenda today?
Item 10 and item 11, personal in both. I'm a member of local authority, appointment panel, dispensation to speak but not vote. And then I'm named in item 11, and the legal officer will take that forward. I've got a personal interest.
Okay, thank you very much. Any others? No, we'll move then to the minutes of the previous meeting, which are on pages 1 to 3 of the agenda. I haven't had any requests for any amendments to the meeting minutes, but I will take them if there are any. If not, I'm happy to move them as a true record. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you very much. All those in favour? Yeah, happy to agree. Thank you very much. I'll move then to announcements of a Leader of the Council. Firstly, if I can begin by making comment on the draft settlement by Welsh Government for local authorities. Members will know that Welsh Government received the very pitiful sum of £305 million as part of the autumn statement from UK Government. 305 million may sound like a lot of money, but on a 20-odd billion pound budget, it is a very, very meagre increase for the Welsh Government indeed. Over a 2-year period as it is, meaning that around 160-odd million is available to Welsh Government over a 2-year period. We spend more than that on education in Swansea alone, so it is a very, very small amount. Having said that, though, the position remains extremely challenging. Welsh Government have provided a 3.1% uplift, which remains well below the inflation levels that we have seen over the last 12 months and will mean incredible pressures remaining on local councils, including Swansea. We are continuing our discussions with Welsh ministers post the discussions on the draft settlement to try and seek improvements for local government prior to the final settlement in the new year. It is important that the key services of education, of social care, and the things that councils deliver are not lost in the aims of the Welsh Government supporting the Health Board and the Health Service with further substantial sums of money. And again, it's not about a competition between health and other services, but we do know that many of the pressures that can be relieved on the health services are done by funding preventative services in social care. So those are the points we will continue to make to the Welsh Government. In terms of the overall situation, the lack of funding from UK Government to Wales and to the Welsh Government means that pressure inevitably flows to councils in the decisions about council tax. We will make a determination in the new year about that. But again, residents should be in no doubt at all. If the UK Government provided more money to councils, we would need to raise less in council tax. That is a simple sleight of hand by the government in London. They continually pile pressure onto citizens to pay more tax locally, both in England, Wales, and elsewhere. So we will do all we can to balance those pressures. And again, through the prudent considerations and actions made by this administration over recent years, we are now one of the best provisioned councils in Wales. We have one of the highest levels of gearing of any council in Wales, and therefore we do have some resources that we can deploy when rainy days arrive. Well, let me tell you, we're in monsoon season this year, given the amount of pressure that we will see through the low settlements we've received in local government. Therefore, our commitment will remain that we set aside sums of money for rainy days, and we will seek to deploy sums of money to help during rainy days. I will be meeting with head teachers later today, where we will discuss potential provisional settlements for schools, and we hope to be able to help schools. But likewise, when we come to make our final determinations next year, we will also need to draw from our reserves in order to protect the services and to deliver on the commitments that we set as administration when we were elected in 2022. Obviously, all of this needs to be done with the advice of officers and be done in a prudent and manageable matter, because you, as Mr. Smith has told us many times, you can only spend your reserves once. But pressures this year are probably worse than we've seen them in a generation. So therefore, that concludes my announcements in terms of the budget. I wanted to just, on a more positive note, though, just indicate as well that 2024 will be another year of change and regeneration and ambition for Swansea, despite the pressures that we have. For those of you who look at some of the social media, you'll have seen Wales Online recently highlighting the fact that a number of the major things that we had committed to deliver will be coming online next year. Obviously, there is the delivery of the 7172 Kingsway site, which is part funded by the City deal, and we've already delivered the first phase of the City deal in terms of the arena and the outlying complex. The second part around the Kingsway comes online in the early part of next year. That'll be closely followed by the opening of things like the Albert Hall and the Palace Theatre, which will all be venues and locations where thousands of new jobs will exist, and that is important for the economy of our city to get more people working in our city centre and being paid and receiving salaries which are above the minimum wage. On top of that, obviously, we'll begin the works on Castle Gardens. We're already well into the works for the new hub to create the new local services hub in the old British Home Stores building. We will be shortly making further announcements on our plans for the Debenham store that we have purchased and that we seek to bring more retailers into. We will begin the second phase of the build around Copper Bay, which will see new locations for government, public and private services moving into the city centre. We will obviously, the planning committee will be discussing the merits of the Skyline application. And again, subject to approval, that will be an excellent facility, bringing, again, hundreds of jobs and thousands of tourists to the city. We will also commence the works on the levelling up renovation of the river corridor. And on top of that, there will be a series of announcements that I'll be making in January in terms of our capital programme and investment, not least in our new schools, but also in the fabric of our communities. So again, I believe, and I'm sure Cabinet does, that despite the challenges, we will respond effectively and that we will try and make 2024 as bright a prospect as we can for the people of Swansea. Councillor Francis Davis.
On the first announcement, Leader, whilst we welcome money from Welsh Government, just over 3%, it's almost derisory when we see that English local authorities are getting a 6.5% increase, and Wales, look, the public that we serve rely on us to deliver essential services. And when you see the Mid and West Wales Fire Authority increasing their levy up to 8.5% because of pay increases, inflation that had got out of control in the last year, the 3% isn't even going to cover pay increases. And I do worry for local authorities like ourselves, and because of good management by yourself, Leader, in the finance section, and our officers like Ben Smith here, financially, we're probably one of the best authorities, best performing authorities in Wales financially, but 3% is just not enough for us to be able to go forward on our ambitious plans. And I really hope that the Welsh Government can put pressure on central government to make sure that we get our fair share of resources so that local government can continue, because the 3%, or is it 3.1%, is just not sufficient for what we need to deliver.
No, and I think it's universally accepted that the pressures in schools, the pressures in social care, the pressures in all of our services are way above the level of funding currently. Our settlement is slightly above the average because of the changes in our population growth. So we will receive a 3.8% uplift, which when you take out the cash equivalent is real terms worth about 3.6%. But again, even though inflation has fallen this month, it's still below inflation. So it's a real terms cut. And given that inflation has been much higher for such a long time, it is a significant real terms cut, which doesn't go anywhere near addressing the pressures that we have. So you're absolutely right on that, Francis Davis. Any other comments? If not, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I just would echo what's been said. We know the financial pressures, but added to that, we've got significant social pressures, nowhere more so than in our schools. We know the issues with attendance. We know the issues with behaviour. It's more the quantum that we're desperate to increase the quantum, and yet we're trying to make do with a very moderate increase, as has already been said, 3.1%. It doesn't even touch the sides. So I think that message needs to go back. It needs to go back to Welsh Government, but it certainly needs to go back to UK Government.
Yes, thank you very much. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Leader. And I completely agree with your comments about the position that we're in at the moment financially. Just to flag that the housing support grant is cash flat, essentially. So we are seeing homelessness pressures, but we're not seeing an increase in the grant. So that is also reflected in the financial settlement from Welsh Government. So I welcome the opportunity to consider use of reserves because we are in difficult financial times.
Thank you for that. Okay, thank you, colleagues. We'll move then to next item, which is public question time. I don't think we have any members of the public who've indicated or provided questions, correct? Okay. And then in terms of councillor question time, I don't see any councillors present who indicate asking any questions. So we'll move to the scrutiny inquiry antisocial behaviour review. I'll call Councillor Hennigan as chair of that committee in to introduce the scrutiny findings. Councillor
Thank you,
Hennigan.
Chair. I'm here today to present the antisocial behaviour inquiry panel, giving our findings, conclusions and recommendations based on our examination and subject to evidence we gathered. We would like to thank all those who took part in the inquiry. And I got to say, we had a very good crew of ward councillors and it was cross-party. We were impressed with the commitment of all organisations and individuals as part of the inquiry. We were particularly pleased to go and meet a group of young people in Bryn Hyfryd. At the start of the inquiry, I did say about going outside and meeting people in the community, which I think you gather more evidence. We went to this early East hub, I called it, and there's about 25 young people there. We learned more from them than a lot of the other organisations that was there. And I would like to congratulate them on that. Our key recommendations from the inquiry was to conduct a mapping exercise of council services, but also those organisations that have a stake in improving antisocial behaviour. We felt this would help council, its partners and wider stakeholders, including public, and to see the bigger picture. Again, address any cross-party or organisation challenges. It's taken nearly a year to get it all together. I'm sure we've all read the report. And that's all I got to say in it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hennigan. And can I thank you for the report and for the work that yourselves and the committee have done. So I'll call in Councillor Pugh now to respond.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. And I would like to thank Councillor Hennigan. And it has been about a year, isn't it? And many meetings. You know, it was very thoroughly done, in all fairness. And I would like to thank the whole panel, because you're right, there was cross-party, there was a good mixture in there, but also it was very well attended from all the partners and the agencies. You know, it was really nice to see that momentum kept up right through all the meetings. And I think one of the strong things that have come from it is the fact that we value our partners, we work very closely together, that this is across Swansea. It's not one man alone can't do it all, that everybody has to work in partnership. And I think that, you know, throughout the ASB report, you know, you can see it's very multifaceted, you know, faceted, you know, so there's lots of recommendations in there. Some are easier than others to be able to get on with. We certainly aim to build on our partnership work, and certainly sort of as well alter the way of the Safer Swansea runs a bit in the fact that perhaps taking to the priorities each time and having more formal feedbacks in there, so partners are more aware of what's going on. You know, if you speak to our ASB officer, he very much values the CMET team and all the support that he gets, you know. But like the leader was talking about budgets earlier, we have got a flat budget, some of them even being cut. So everything is a challenge. And I think that the multi-agency work will be more important now than ever, you know. When we went to Bryn Hyfryd, it was fantastic, wasn't it? You know, young people have no hesitation in telling you how they feel and what they want and what they don't want, and best way to learn. And I think we learned more in that evening there, didn't we, than anything. It was excellent. I've even seen one young girl in the park since, and she held me. She said, "You said you're coming over to visit us in Stadwin." So over I've been, and they managed to get some money out of me. Do you know what I mean? So they canny, they are. Do you know what I mean? They're very good. But you know, so look, I just want to thank everyone, and I think we really value the fact that you've identified in the hardship of 1 year grants, of not knowing, you know, that to help us put pressure on the police and crime commissioner for the 3-year grant, so that we got chance to embed things in and do something with it, because it is very difficult on a year-to-year basis sort of thing. So I know the officers are all pleased, and I know everybody wants to work together to improve things. And I think that another nice thing that comes from it is the fact that, you know, sometimes society has a view of young people all being trouble, you know, they're all hanging around, so they're all troublemakers. And I think the voice of the young people come across very much to say, sometimes we're there, but it doesn't mean we're actually doing anything. You know, they don't want to be blamed, and they were very quick to point out that half the time it's adults. It's not them. So I think there's been good learning from this, Councillor Hennigan, and we're all very grateful.
Thank you, Councillor Pugh. In terms of that has been the response. Did you want to remove the report at the same time? Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you. I'll come back to you, Councillor Hennigan, in a second. I've got to go through the order. So, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Leader. And I won't repeat Councillor Pugh's comments, but I will add my thanks to Councillor Hennigan and the committee. This is probably the biggest, most thorough piece of scrutiny I think I've ever seen in my time as a councillor, and so it was really well done. I just wanted to add my thanks in terms of the inclusion of the housing department and the housing associations. And during our session, there was a lot of cross partnership work in that we identified where there were maybe some gaps and we could work more closely with our partners. And my thanks to the committee for revealing that. And it was also a good opportunity to see and highlight all the good work which is ongoing as well. So my thanks to the committee, really good piece of work.
Councillor Lewis. Councillor Gibbard.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple of comments on some of the aspects that are in my portfolio. And again, like everyone else has done, thank all the councillors on the panel and all the officers for their input. And, you know, it's really pleasing to see that the report has recognised the hard work and the range of initiatives across the council that are dedicated to this issue. Some of the recommendations that have been pointed out, been put forward, are already underway. Recommendation 5, for example, I heard at the Youth Justice Board last week that the team are working in 5 schools with younger pupils in year 5 and 6 that you know, on some of these issues to kind of get that prevention work in early. The CMET team have recently been really successful with a really big grant from the Home Office, the Youth Endowment Fund, to continue and expand that work. But obviously, as Councillor Anthony and others have said, that, you know, there are resource pressures which are going to make some of these recommendations difficult, but we very much recognise and welcome the report.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Gibbard. Okay, the report. Sorry, Councillor Gwilliam.
Thank you. Yeah, again, just to mention, there are lots of work being done on the recommendations that have been put forward. I know that there's a new Safer Swansea Partnership leaflet. It's available in digital form and also in a physical copy, which is one of the things that was mentioned. You know, we need to make sure that we are providing material in ways that people find accessible. With the reporting mechanisms and partner agencies included in their contact information, and a handy recording table at the back so people can keep a track on whether it's a crime reference number or who they've spoken to, so they can follow up easily on actions taken. There's also been a mapping exercise underway, both internal and external. I know that Council Officer Rhys Thomas has been involved in that with his new transformation role, and he's also leading on the Bright Ideas campaign to look at youth engagement, thanks to the 100k which was released or made available by yourself, Leader. And there's been lots of consultation and engagement with ward members, internal departments within the council, external partner agencies including the police and BIGT, third sector, and with members of the public. And this is ongoing, and it is, you know, there's future dates and it will take some time, but it's to ensure that there's no duplication of service provision out there as well, because we don't want to be, you know, repeating what somebody else is doing. We need to be really resourceful because, as been mentioned, budgets are tight. So if we pool resources and work in partnership, then that reach will be far greater. I know that Jane Whitmore has met both internal and external, and she's looked at producing a document so that we can physically see organisational structures and reporting mechanisms, and also the referral processes that are already in place as well. And we briefly had some sight of that work before. I know Councillor Gibbard will echo this, but the CMET Youth Panel developed a language guide as well around how services are talking or referring about young people. For example, one of the most powerful things that I actually heard was she or he is putting themselves at risk when in fact they're not. They're being exploited. You know, they're vulnerable young people, and they are being exploited by adults a lot of the time, and I think it would be beneficial for us to have that presentation. I heard it in the chamber, but there was only a select few, but that would be good to go out wider as well, because it is really important about the way that we refer to young people. I know one recommendation was around more youth workers, and it is very difficult to attract and recruit, and that's not just within the youth service but wider. All public services are feeling the pressures, so we're not in a unique position on that. And again, budget constraints. And another point is, I know Councillor Elliott has worked quite hard on this, but the community centres have been looked at, and ward members have been attached to community centres to try and make sure that they are accessible and open to you know, more public use then. So yeah, there's lots of really good work, and I echo the thanks of everyone else for Councillor Terry Hennigan and the rest of the panel that were involved, and all the members of the public and agencies as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all. Anybody else wish to comment before I go back to Councillor Hennigan? Councillor Hennigan, so we've had the report. Was there any comment you wanted to make? Sorry.
Yeah, just to say that we had to take it to the scrutiny programme committee first, and the chair of the scrutiny committee actually said he thought it was an excellent report. That's for the record. And could I put on record that Michelle, the scrutiny officer, done a fantastic job as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hannigan. I'm sure we all agree with those and pass on our thanks as well. So the report has been moved and seconded. Can we then go to the vote, please?
Thank you, Leader. The vote has been launched.
If you're logged in, vote electronically. If not, just show your hands, it'll be fine. Thank you all very much.
Okay, that's
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, colleagues, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hennigan. We'll move then to item 8, which is the Revenue and Capital Budget Monitoring Report for the second quarter. The report is in my name, but I'll come to Mr. Smith in case he's got any further comments he wishes to add to the information already contained in the report before I introduce it.
Thank you, Leader. As you rightly attest, the report is in your name, but it relies on technical advice from myself, and this report has some clear officer technical advice around reserves and provisions, as you've rightly acknowledged. You listen and take that advice, and that has set you in good stead in previous years, and I expect you to do the same going forward. It is based on as being prudent given the heightened risks the authority, as all authorities, face. So I would only give officer comment in terms of the overall narrative weaved throughout the report in normal fashion, which you are used to. Compared to first quarter, service overspending has reduced, but there is still service overspending, and my clear advice to you is service directors must contain that spend pressure simply because of the pressures that you face going forward, like every other authority. And I don't think there is an authority in the land that is not reporting an overspend, certainly not an authority that's got education and upper tier social care responsibility. The rest of the report sets out, as is normal fashion, my advice in terms of adds to and from reserve matters, and also planned use of contingency and central inflation. It does indicate that you are at the second quarter still technically overspent in year, but I remain confident, given the track record of fellow directors and yourselves, to contain and bring down and bear down on spending, that taken with those, the central items that I'm advising that you deploy, and also potential some surplus on council tax income at end of year, and the usual weird and wonderful bits that we mop up, including the not insignificant £7 million estimated underspend on capital financing, that at this point in the year, at second quarter, you are as close to balancing as you could reasonably expect to be. The third quarter will be especially important because you will receive it at the same point in time at which you are considering your final recommendations to Cabinet on the budget. But there is nothing here that concerns me compared to any normal second quarter report, other than the pressures are clearly set out as growing, and the future, as you've indicated, Leader, is very, very significant. But this is a report that indicates that there is a judicious need to draw from reserves in the current year. You planned to do that anyway, and I would emphasise exactly that there is a distinction between using reserves randomly and drawing and planning to use those reserves. So I don't think I need to add anything else to the report itself, other than the HRA stands alone, ultra ring fenced. The message is the same as first quarter. It is under greater pressure than it has been in recent years. And you may also wish to comment that the capital programme continues to concern us in terms of the pace and scale of delivery. But from my point of view, I always see that as a win-win for me, less so for yourselves, because that's what's contributing to the in-year £7 million capital financing underspend. So it's not all bad news on that side of it. But the report is clear, as far as I'm concerned. There is nothing of great note compared to a normal year, other than the technical advice I've given on reserves and provisions, and I'll defer to yourself, Leader, given that the report is in your name.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Smith, and again, welcome your advice, and also thank you and your officers for the work that you've done on this report and all of the monitoring that you're doing to ensure that we remain on target for a balanced budget outturn in April this year. As you quite rightly referenced, you know, that we are making good progress over quarter one, and this follows the same pattern that we've seen in previous years, where we are reducing the overspends with the work going on across directorates, so that when we do get to the end of year, we are not in an overspend position. Because, of course, what members will know, but the public often don't, is that we do not have the luxury that others have, like the health service and the health boards, of massively overspending. We have to balance our budget every year. We cannot rely on a £435 million bailout to balance our budgets. And that is where some of the angst comes between the services we deliver and the services delivered by others. But as has been said, I am grateful to the work that directors and cabinet members are doing to reduce any overspends. And like yourself, Mr. Smith, I'm confident that we will come into a balanced position by year end. You're absolutely right. I was going to reference the capital spend, which I've done before. It is behind the curve of previous years. There are some very good reasons for that. We know that some of our major schemes are ones which have had some technical challenges in terms of the pace of delivery, but those are in the process of being resolved. So we do anticipate those major schemes for the next phase of delivery picking up. Likewise, there have been challenges in the HRA, which again are being dealt with. Whilst they do provide us with some financial headroom in the capital programme, which is welcome, we have made commitments to the people of Swansea to deliver new schools, new city centre, new facilities in communities, and new homes, and all of those capital elements of the capital programme do need to pick up pace, and that continues to be my message. So overall, a positive step forward as a Q2 report. We note the risks and variations within the report, Mr. Smith, and with that, I'm happy to move the report. Could I ask for a seconder, please, Councillor Lewis?
Thank you, Leader, and thank you to Mr. Smith. I'm happy to second the report. And if I can just comment on the HRA revenue first. We have seen increased staff, increased costs that we didn't plan for, and also inflationary pressures and energy costs have risen as well. In addition to that, though, the good news is from the revenues repairs budget, we've actually put an additional £4.4 million into carrying out repairs in our council homes for the benefit of our tenants. So even though it is higher spend than we'd actually anticipated, it is a good news story. In terms of the HRA capital programme, much like the council's capital programme, we have seen slippage. There are reasons for that. We have only spent 29% of our budget to date, but we do look to try and accelerate some of those projects and sites. We have good reasons why some of them have been delayed, stopping up orders, trying to carry out further due diligence to get more exacting costs on site. And so there are good reasons for it, but we intend to try and pick up the pace and carry out that spend towards the end of the financial year. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Any other comments or contributions from anyone? If not, then again, we'll take this one to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Again, that is unanimous. OK, we'll move on to agenda item 9, which is Q2 performance monitoring. Councillor Hopkin.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. What I will say about today, we've got a new format within the report. I think Richard Rowlands have looked at making it easier readable. What I would ask cabinet members, if they can think of any areas of improvement, please talk to myself and Richard to try to make this document as easy readable as possible. What I do like about it, if you look at certain dependencies throughout, you can actually see where the greens are and the reds are and the ambers. It's far more readable to me, and I think it's a far better format. But as I say, it's not set in stone, so open to any criticism. The other issue I do like about the new format, the way it's laid out, is that you get the chief executive's narrative of where his take on this, and also the lead directors at each point. So to me, it sets out the issues and the reasons why, and I think it is far better, and also includes the risks that sat alongside it. So more than happy to take any questions on the new format and the way it's going, but also any changes that need to be. What I'm pleased also to say, particularly in my area, and I'm sure that other cabinet members will come in throughout, we have still got significant pressures in the public health, and particularly in the housing provision with in the private sector, where the HMO teams are really still struggling with the effects and the demands, particularly of the Renters' Homes Act. The new Renters' Homes Act is putting significant pressure onto our team. So although we are amber, there are lots of work going on to try to get that back on track. Again, very pleased to say with the work that's gone on within the planning area, we're now one of the top performing councils in, top performing planning committees in the whole of Wales. I think it's a fantastic thing to have, and I would like to thank Paul Lloyd, the planning committee, and our planners for the work that they've done here. And I know this has worked in partnership with our development forum, where we've worked with our people who actually matter in this county, where we are trying to improve more homes and everything else that we work with our developers. So again, I think that is a fantastic achievement for our planning department. So I would like to put on record my thanks. I'm not going to go into any further detail on the report. I think the report is set out very well. Happy to move the recommendations on page 67, and there's 2 recommendations. Happy to move that then, but more than willing to listen to any comments that come from fellow cabinet members.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hopkins. I'm very happy to formally second the report. I absolutely agree with you. I think the new format is much improved. I think it helps people understand where we are in terms of delivery of our corporate plan and our service delivery. Again, I think the pie charts that are on pages 68 and 69 are really useful in showing how significant a job we're doing across directorates in terms of delivering against targets and measures, with 81% of the corporate plan steps in green, 83% of the corporate plan success measures green, and 75% of the corporate PIs green, which is again a healthy position for us to be. But I'm sure other cabinet members will want to make comments about elements of their own directorate. So I'll come to Councillor Stevens first.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. And I echo comments from yourself and Councillor Hopkins on the new format of the report. So please pass on my thanks to the team for the expertly laid out details in the appendix. It was very, very easy to follow. So there's certainly many positive areas within the report. In particular, I'll touch on some of the transforming economy and infrastructure, where the Q2 performance in meeting this wellbeing objective is overwhelmingly positive, with over 80% of the steps on target. So just to touch on briefly on a couple of points, you'll see on page 44 our commitment to lighting around the bay with over 300 energy efficient lighting columns alongside one of our most popular walking and cycling routes. This scheme's well underway. Work from West Cross to Sketty has been completed, and the team are currently working from Bryn Mill to the 360, with the majority of the links completed and the remainder to be done by the spring. Page 47 shows that we are back on track with our free Wi-Fi objective, and I'm pleased to say the first area is due for installation by the end of winter. It also references on page 47 of our continued investment in parks and play, and I have the pleasure of working alongside Councillor Francis Davis and an absolutely exceptional team to help deliver transformational change to all the play areas across Swansea. So page 48 also references our bus shelter programme. So work's progressing well on this, and although the appendix states that 2 rounds totaling £100,000 worth of shelters, states that 2 rounds have been done, there's a 3rd round done with another £100,000 worth of bus shelters in the first part of the new year. Work is also progressing on our £10 million investment into road infrastructure, with another tranche of road scheduled for beginning of the new year. So I just want to put on record my thanks to our entire highways, lighting and transport teams for the work they're doing to keep us on track and our commitments despite extremely challenging circumstances. So,
thank you, Mr. Stevens. Absolutely agree with all of that. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Leader. I totally agree with the improved layout of the report. It's really easy to read, very clear. So my thanks to Richard Rowlands and to Councillor Hopkins for the improved structure of it. It looks good. Just to highlight a few things in terms of one of our corporate objectives, tackling climate change and nature recovery. I'm pleased to say that we've got now over 110 either fully electric or hybrid vehicles on our council fleet, and we'll continue to work towards finding funding to green that further. That's serviced by around 12 charge points across the estate. We've also had some real success with an organisation called Sparks. So they did a pilot with the Gysainen Hub to look at their energy demand and usage, and have saved them around £4,000 a year. And that programme has now been rolled out to all our schools to try and help them make energy efficiencies as well. And we had some success in our planning application for our solar farm at Tir John this year. So that's really excellent news. And my thanks to the team for all the work that they've done on that. And just a final quick thing from me, because there's a lot of good news in the report to cover. I won't cover it all. But I am really pleased that we've re-established our energy hub switched on to help the members of the public this year to save money on their energy bills and to reduce their carbon emissions. So some good news there as well.
Yeah, again, thank you, Councillor Lewis. Agree with all of that. And as you say, some very good news contained in that section of the report. I come to Councillor Gibbard next.
Thank you. Yeah, just wanted to note that pleased with the good progress across the board in a lot of the areas in the safeguarding priority. Just wanted to reassure colleagues really that the areas which are coming up as red or amber, we're aware of the workforce pressures that we've got in both adult and child and family services. But then with some of them, for example, the percentage of overdue visits to children on the protection register, we're confident that those are being done, and often but some of the issues there might be to do with reporting and the IT systems. So just wanted to reassure people that, you know, even where the ones are not green, that the plans are in place to make sure that we are improving and then getting those essential things done.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gibbard. Councillor Smith next.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'd echo the comments about the presentation of the report, but I think this links to what I said earlier in terms of the pressure on the education service in general, and the fact that we have such a positive report is, I think, a reflection of what our schools are achieving, the commitment of our school staff, supported by our staff centrally. The work around school attendance is not where we want it to be, but we are coping with a national issue here, and I think the figures that we have are a tribute to Swansea schools. Likewise, there are issues in inclusion and behaviour that I referred to earlier. There is a lot of here about the strategic work which needs to be done, and I won't go through the whole report. It's there for people to read, but the work around EOTAS, the inclusion strategy, Welsh in education, all of that strategic community sustainable communities for learning, all of that is essential strategic work that in some way or other is going to contribute to the success of our children and young people. And I think that is a tribute, as I said, to the staff we have, and especially to the staff that are working so hard in our schools moving forward. Yes, as we said earlier, we need more resources, but what we're achieving is due to them.
Yep, absolutely, Councillor Smith. Thank you very much for that. Councillor King next.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I think whilst we continue to see a sustained attack on human rights by the UK government across the board, I'm really proud that we're able to demonstrate in this report our commitment as a city to maintaining people's human rights, and that we welcome everyone to Swansea. And I think it demonstrates the fantastic work that started by Councillor Gibbard, but also now being taken forward by the team with establishing a human rights city and bringing together our action plan. I was really pleased that last week we were able to welcome Jane Hutt, the Minister, to Swansea to give a lecture around human rights, which recognised the work, and also recently being invited as a council by UNESCO to a global conference next year to talk about our journey as a city. So I think it really demonstrates our commitment to our citizens to ensure that they can express and are able to enforce their human rights. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor King. Absolutely, and I think that'll be a really good opportunity next year to demonstrate the work that's been done. Councillor Francis Davis.
I'd like to welcome the new format as well, and congratulate Richard Rowlands in the way he's put this report together. But I think the delivery on this, and our delivery is really good. but it only comes because we have a good staff and investing in a good staff. And I think that I'd like to mention a couple of staff. Paul Ralph, who has been responsible on working tirelessly to bring a team together to look at the investment through the Shared Prosperity Fund and the Levelling Up Fund, etc., and the work with Welsh Government. But also the late Hugh Mowbray, who his legacy is second to none. And I think we should never forget that. Christy Tillman, who has done a great job on our children's play, again, works quietly. People perhaps don't see her on a day-to-day basis, but her work has been exceptional. So let's congratulate our staff.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. And again, I think we'd all agree wholeheartedly with your comments, specifically around the comments you made about Hugh Mowbray, and we were all very, very sad to hear of his passing. But we will take the opportunity. It's one of the things that I would hope we can do early in the new year is to recognise Hugh's unique contribution to our city centre, and that's something we'll come back to in the new year, I'm sure. So thank you for that. And again, the report has been moved and seconded. I'll come back to Councillor Hopkins if there's any further comments. But again, thanks from me to yourself and to the team for the work that's been gone into this report.
No, nothing further to add. Just to thank everybody for what I would say. Yeah, the pressures are huge within workforce, but I think we are very fortunate in Swansea to have such a committed team. And I think resources are tight, but I still take some great pleasure in the way that very small teams in some area perform absolutely outstanding across this authority. And yes, the pressures are huge, but from us, it is only right and proper. We should say a big thank you to them all.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Councillor Anthony, apologies I missed you. Yes, I'll come
Is it
back.
too late to just
No,
add?
no,
Oh,
please add.
sorry. All right. Yeah, no, thank you. And I welcome the report. And like everybody else, it has been easier to read. You know, it's been easier to sort of navigate through it. You know, I know I like my pen and paper and my highlighter. I've already had some stick this morning over that. Do you know what I mean? But you know, but it is actually very nice to see it laid out like this. We have been up against it. We've had, I think, all the officers have had a really, you know, a hard year, and it doesn't seem to be getting any easier. But I think that what we have got is a workforce that rise to the challenge. That they don't say no, they don't say can't do. They try their best. They use, you know, we've had shared prosperity funds. Paul Ralph already mentioned earlier, you know, the Enabling Communities grants, over £1 million given out this year in trying to help make sure that children had food in their bellies, that families were looked after to the best that we can. Our employability hub in the quadrant has been an enormous success. You know, our in-work figures are best in Wales, you know, and they couldn't do it if they weren't a partnership. You can't, you know, when you think of over £1 million in welfare benefits secured for people that would never have known they could apply for these, and this, you know, because the government don't make it easy for people to know what they're entitled to. You know, and it's life changing. So, and I'm really proud at whether it be regen, whether it be employability, lifelong learning, whatever it is, they all work together. And if they can't quite do it, they'll get someone who can, and they help. So just a big thank you to all the staff and everywhere, and the community safety team who have been out in the cold on the stall in the German market this week. Fair play. There's been some cold days out there, so they're all excellent. So just thank you to everybody.
Yeah, again, thank you, Councillor Anthony. Apologies for not bringing you in before the summing up. But yes, absolutely agree with those comments. Okay, thank you, colleagues, for those comments. And again, thank you for the work that you and your teams are doing to help deliver, which shows in this report in spades. So, Mr. Evans, if we can go to the vote, I think we can just do that physically. So all those in favour, if you could show, please. Okay, thank you very much. That is unanimous again. We move then to item 10, which is local authority governor appointments. Councillor Smith.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I've already thanked the school staff. I've already thanked our central team for their contribution. Local authority governors, all governors, perform another unsung role within our education system. And I thank the people that have volunteered and happy to move the report, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to second the report. If there aren't any other comments, all those in favour? Okay, that is carried. Thank you very much. We'll move then to agenda item 10. And just to say, this agenda item, whilst it's in the name of the Cabinet member, is actually going to be taken by the head of legal services. So I'll go to...
I'm declaring a personal interest.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Smith. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, it's a very straightforward report. It's seeking approval of Cabinet to amend the terms of reference of the Partneriaeth Joint Committee. At present, the terms of reference state that the leader has to be the voting member on the Joint Committee. The deed of variation seeks to introduce some flexibility for the constituent authorities so they can make a choice whether the voting member should be the leader or the cabinet member with the education portfolio responsibility. So the first recommendation is for approval of the draft deed of variation as described. And as far as Swansea is concerned, recommendation 2 specifies that the cabinet member for education and learning should be the voting member on the joint committee and the non-voting member should be the leader. And the third recommendation is delegating authority to the legal officer to approve the final terms, because obviously that's a draft attached to Appendix A. It's anticipated that any amendments will be very minor, but delegated authority to sign that off. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Again, very supportive of this change. I think it was out of kilter with the way in which we've approached the CJC arrangements and others, whereby we have ensured that cabinet members are the representative delegates on those committees, and it was important that Councillor Smith had that ability to cast our vote at the meetings, because I don't attend those on a regular basis. Councillor Smith does. As important, he carries that vote. So I think it's absolutely the right change, and again would move the report for cabinet. I'll look for a seconder. Thank you very much. Okay, any comments or questions on that? You have the slightly amended thing as well. So anything further? Okay, all in favour? Thank you very much. And then our final report, item 12, which is Financial Procedure Rule 7, Local Transport Fund. Sorry, another 2. Sorry, yes, absolutely. Number 12 first then, Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Leader. So I'm happy to present the latest report on the Local Transport Fund Awards for this year and last. Are we okay?
Apologies that there's discussion about how many agenda items we got, and I think I was corrected and accepted. I was wrong and I'm actually right. So please proceed.
Right. So the Local Transport Fund aims to support local authorities in delivering transport improvements that align with Welsh Government's priorities and objectives. So Welsh Government informed us back in May of our award of a total of 5.8 million split over 2 years. So it's 3.8 million last year. And this report covers the 2 million for 24-25 for the further development of the Swansea Bay and West Wales Metro. The report also includes 250,000 for our regional bus co-allocation. This will enable us to identify and develop bus corridors and signal priority infrastructure, further improving the efficiency and attractiveness of our bus infrastructure in our region, and support the integration of bus with other modes of transport. As we know, the Metro is a long-term vision to create a modern, sustainable and integrated transport network that aims to connect the whole region by rail, bus and active travel modes. This funding will enable us to continue the feasibility, design and planning work needed and to prepare for its implementation and delivery. So there are many positive things with the Metro will bring. It will help boost local economies, join up journeys across different regions, provide faster and more reliable options to commute and access public services, and leisure destinations, reduce the environmental impact of the transport network, and have positive impact on health and well-being. So these projects stand to make significant difference to our transport system. So I just want to place on record my thanks to Matt Bowyer for pulling together the report, and an entire highways and transport team for the excellent work they're doing on a consistent basis right across the county. So with that, I have nothing further to add, Leader.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stevens. I'm very happy to second the report and agree with all of the comments you made, and obviously add my thanks to the officers for the work they've done. I think just to add a little bit more to what you said, this is continuing the investment on the path to that metro system that we're committed to delivering. I recently gave an update at the Green Economy Conference showing where we got to with Transport for Wales. And again, just some highlights for people to take away. We now have in our metro in Southwest Wales the route that will move the most people off roads and into public transport of any scheme in Wales. It scores highest in terms of all of the data modelling. All of the work by Transport for Wales in terms of the feasibility of the creation of the stations has been done. All we really need now is for the UK Government Transport Board to give us part of that £1 billion they're holding on to help us get on and deliver it. We're ready to do so. It is really important after the debacle of HS2 that Wales gets its fair funding. That's at least 250 million initially, but as I've said in other places, it's several £billion as a consequential Wales should be expecting from the debacle of HS2, which was crassly described and incorrectly described as an England and Wales scheme. Well, not an inch of track exists in Wales. It was sleight of hand by the UK government, and they need to right that wrong, and they need to provide the funding as soon as possible. We're ready to deliver and stand deliver with our regional partners and Transport for Wales, the rail metro system in South West Wales, which will connect a number of our communities up, moving more than 1 million people out of their cars. Alongside that, we are looking forward to announcements on the hydrogen bus trial with Welsh Government, which will be linked to the metro, bringing cleaner buses to our communities. And of course, on top of that, all of the elements of through ticketing and enhanced services that we would expect. So again, those are things that we hope we will see move forward in 2024. Again, very grateful for the work that's being done here to put us in that position. And of course, just a rider, we've got the bus bill coming next year from Welsh Government as well. That bus bill will allow authorities like ourselves that have been locked out of running bus services the opportunity to do so from next year. We remain an ambitious council that would like to step in and run bus services where it's prudent to do so. And I will put existing operators on notice now. Improve your services. You've started to tinker in the last few weeks. Our communities will not put up with the types of services they've been having from you for very much longer. And if you do not improve services, then we stand ready to act and we will step in. So the clock is ticking, not long left now. And when the bus bill is here, we will be ready to act. So I want to see an improvement in bus services in Swansea and South West Wales. If not, then we stand ready to act. I don't think that message could be clearer. But I thank Councillor Stevens for bringing the report. I'll bring other colleagues in for comment if they wish to. Councillor Francis Davis.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for the work you've been doing and pushing this metro system for West Wales. You are right. The transportation system is not working for Swansea. It is not working for West Wales. In fact, the private sector have shown to be absolutely abysmal in the way they deliver the services. We have a thriving nighttime economy in Swansea. We have added to that by bringing things like the arena into Swansea. That makes us a destination for all of West Wales, and yet try getting home late at night, either by bus or by train. It is absolutely disgraceful the way that the private sector, since deregulation, we were promised competition, more services, more regular. And yet we've got no competition, worse services, and completely irregular. And that is not good enough. And yet, as you say, for a measly £250 million, now people think that's a lot of money, 250, but let's get it into perspective compared to the £5.1 billion that was shortchanged to Wales on the HS2, which was an England and Wales scheme. Wales never saw a penny of that money, and we could get 1 million people off the road and onto a metro system that could be running and getting people in and out of Swansea. We are doing our part as a local authority in regeneration, our city centres. Our communities needed to be linked up, and they deserve better. So I'm glad you said that they've been put on notice, because all I hear these days on social media is people in our communities complaining of buses not turning up. When they turn up, they are late or overcrowded. And I think we need to get this. So congratulations to the staff on bringing these reports together. And let's hope that we can get the finances to be able to give West Wales a service it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there are no other comments, sorry, and just a slight amendment, if we could.
Thank you, Chair. Just a slight amendment before you vote to the wording of recommendation 2 to make it absolutely clear. So what I would suggest is that it's reworded to say authority is delegated to the Cabinet Member and Director of Place to progress the local transport fund scheme set out in paragraph 2, just to make it clear that that's the purpose of the report.
Okay, we all clear on that amendment? Yeah, okay, thank you very much. So all those in favour, if you could show, please. Thank you very much. Again, that is carried unanimously. So just before we close, can I just take the opportunity again to thank you all and your teams for the work that you've done during the year, and wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy, peaceful and successful 2020-24. Thank you very much. Declare the meeting closed.